Beneath the surface,
As Emily flipped through the pages of the journals, she felt a growing sense of unease mixed with determination. The entries, scrawled in a shaky hand, chronicled Thomas's descent from a dedicated lighthouse keeper to a man haunted by his decisions. In one journal entry, Thomas recounted the fateful night of the storm. "The skies opened up and the winds howled like banshees," he wrote. "I could hear the cries of a ship in distress, the hull cracking against the rocks. But I was immobilized by fear and doubt. The light flickered, wavering against the tempest." His words became more frantic as he described the chaos surrounding him. The violent crashing of waves, the piercing sound of the ship's horn echoing in the darkness, and the sickening realization that he could have saved them. Emily's heart ached for him as she read about the guilt that plagued Thomas. "I stood at the lantern, the beacon dimmed by the storm's fury, and I was too afraid to venture into the maelstrom," he had written. "Now their souls are tangled with my own, forever begging for release. I am their warden, and I cannot escape my own torment." With each page, the atmosphere in the cellar grew thicker, as if the very air was woven with the anguish of the souls Thomas spoke of. Emily could almost hear their whispers, echoes of the past, cries for help that had gone unheard. But it was in the final journal that she found a glimmer of hope. Thomas's penmanship steadied as he wrote about the cursed artifact hidden deep beneath the lighthouse, a mystical amulet said to possess the power to control the spirits of the drowned. A passage captured her attention. "Legend speaks of the amulet, a relic capable of granting me the power to free the lost souls. But it is also said to bring madness to those who seek it selfishly. I must tread carefully. If I can find it and harness its power, perhaps I can right my wrongs. Perhaps I can allow these spirits to finally rest." Emily felt a surge of resolve. This would be her mission. She had to find this amulet and use it to release the trapped souls that were haunting Thomas, and in turn, free him from his torment as well. Suddenly, a rumble of thunder erupted overhead, resonating through the cellar as vibrations shook the ground. Emily's heart raced as she recalled Thomas's warning about the storm. She needed to act quickly. Gathering her courage, she stood and turned to leave the cellar, clutching the journals tightly to her chest. As she ascended the winding staircase, the echoes of the past faded into the background, replaced by the howling winds that swept through the lighthouse like a wailing banshee. Emerging back into the lantern room, she saw that the swirling mist outside had thickened, enveloping the lighthouse in a veil of grey. "Thomas!" she called out, but there was no answer, only the howling wind and the roar of the ocean below. She feared that he had vanished with the storm, but she felt his presence lingering close, urging her onward. Determined to find the amulet, Emily stepped back out onto the balcony, her eyes scanning the turbulent sea. Between the waves, she could barely make out an outline, a dark, jagged rock formation that jutted out into the churning waters. There, amid the waves, a glimmer caught her eye. It was the sign she had been waiting for. "Please," she whispered, feeling both gravity and urgency. "Show me the way." With one last look at the lighthouse, Emily bolted down the path leading to the beach, the salt water spray hitting her face like tiny, cold needles. The storm was intensifying, and she had no time to lose. Heart pounding, she rushed through the sand, the wind howling around her. When she reached the water's edge, the waves crashed violently at her feet, a foamy chaos that threatened to pull her in. She took a deep breath and plunged forward, feeling the crashing surf tug at her legs. As she swam deeper, she focused on that shimmering light beneath the surface, driven by an unseen force. The water was frigid and dark, but she pushed beyond the discomfort, her lungs burning, her heart racing in anticipation. The shimmering grew brighter, illuminating her path as she followed the glow into the depths. Suddenly, she spotted the amulet, half buried in the sand and encrusted with salt and barnacles. With a deep, determined breath, Emily reached out and grasped the amulet. Its smooth
In a coastal town called Seabright, where the sun set in fiery hues over crashing waves, there was a local legend about the old lighthouse at the edge of the cliffs.
It was said to be haunted by the ghost of a former lighthouse keeper named Thomas, who had mysteriously vanished one stormy night decades ago.
Townsfolk claimed that on the anniversary of his disappearance, strange occurrences could be felt. The sound of a horn echoing through the fog, flickering lights guiding lost ships to shore, and ultimately, the sinister laughter of a man long dead. Emily, a young marine biologist, had recently moved to Seabright to study the unique marine life in the area.
She had heard the stories about the lighthouse but dismissed them as mere folklore.
One evening, drawn by a sense of curiosity and adventure, she approached the lighthouse, determined to uncover its secrets. The sun was setting behind the cliffs as she reached the weathered structure, the salty breeze tousling her hair.
Its once bright paint was now peeling and faded, and the door creaked ominously as she pushed it open.
Old nautical charts lay scattered across the floor, and cobwebs hung like veils across the windows. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the smell of mould.
As she stepped further in, the wind picked up outside, howling like the spirit said to haunt the lighthouse. As she ascended, she stumbled upon an old rusted bell, still hanging near the staircase.
Emily felt a chill but pressed onward, climbing the spiral staircase to the top where the lantern room awaited.
She brushed her fingers across its surface, feeling an inexplicable energy surge through her.
When she reached the lantern room, the view was breathtaking. The ocean stretched for miles, waves crashing violently against the rocks below, while gulls cried overhead. However, a dark grey mist was rolling in, obscuring the horizon.
Shivering slightly, Emily turned to explore the room, her heart racing with excitement. As she studied the dusty lenses of the old lighthouse beacon, she noticed something glinting in the corner of the room. A brass key attached to a frayed rope. What could this unlock? She wondered.
Just then, a sharp gust of wind slammed the door to the lantern room shut. Emily jumped back, her heart pounding. She was suddenly not alone. An icy presence filled the room, and the air crackled with energy.
Get out.
A raspy voice hissed, echoing off the walls. Emily's courage faltered, but curiosity kept her rooted in place.
Who are you?
She managed to stammer, her voice barely above a whisper. Then the light above her flickered ominously, and the temperature dropped further. The figure materialized before her, a translucent man, drenched in sea mist, with sunken eyes filled with sorrow. Thomas, the lighthouse keeper.
You shouldn't be here. This place is cursed. You must leave before the storm comes.
I can't. I need to know what happened to you. I can help you.
A flicker of surprise crossed Thomas's face, and for a fleeting moment, the anger dissipated, revealing deep sadness.
If you seek answers, the key will guide you, but beware, for the sea holds many secrets. Some should never be uncovered.
Emily's heart raced. The key! It had to lead to something important. She turned it in her hand, feeling the cold metal like an electric current.
Where does it lead?
The cellar.
He replied, pointing to a hidden trapdoor beneath the floorboards. The feeling of unease washed over her, but she had to uncover the truth. Eagerly, she searched for a way to unlock the trapdoor. After a few moments, she found a latch and pulled it open, revealing a dark, winding staircase leading into the depths below.
Be careful. Do not disturb what lies beneath.
With his words echoing in her ears, Emily hesitated, staring down into the darkness, but the need for answers pushed her forward. She grabbed her flashlight and began her descent, the air growing colder with every step. As she reached the bottom, she found herself in a damp, cluttered cellar filled with the echoes of the past. Scraps of old fishing nets, barrels long forgotten, and a small wooden chest, warped and rotting. Entranced, Emily approached it, her heart in her throat. She knelt down and hauled the chest open. Inside, she discovered a collection of journals, each filled with the desperate writings of Thomas. His accounts told the tale of a horrific storm that swept through the coast, a shipwreck, and his attempts to rescue the souls lost at sea.